welcome everyone to tonight. It's the, as you know, launch of our 2013 mentoring program. I'm really excited that you've all come along tonight and that you're going to be part of the program, and I think it's going to be a really good night and a really good year for us. Important things we have to do is, if you have not been here before, the toilets are just out that door, and if you take a left, they're down the end of the hall. Also, the evacuation procedure in case of emergency, I hear, is just go back down the stairs out the way we came in. And if you want to hang around, you can, but if not, you can just take off home. That's what they told me. So what we're going to go through tonight, first of all, we're aiming to finish around about 7 o'clock. I've had a few people ask that. I hope that's okay with everyone. After we finish, there will be some more nibblies, and please hang around for a few more drinks and some chats. What we're going to go through tonight is a bit of a welcome and some introductions. We'll then have some information on how the mentoring program's actually going to run this year. I'll just give you a bit of quick info about that. And we're then going to have the main event of the evening, which is going to be a presentation by Brian from IWC and some activities and a bit of group work and a bit of fun stuff. And then we'll wrap up with some more drinks. The most important part. So, very importantly too, we need to thank our sponsors for the program, because without our sponsors we wouldn't have the mentoring program this year. One of our sponsors is the International Water Centre, or the IWC. We do have some mentors from the IWC in the program, and also some mentees, which is fantastic, and Brian will talk a bit more about IWC later. Our other sponsor for the evening is CH2M Hill. Again, we have some mentors and mentees in the program from there, so again, big thanks to them for allowing us to run the program again this year. So the mentoring program is in, I think it's third year in Queensland, and the mentoring program came about because AWA identified there was a shortage of skills in the water industry. So we need to focus on getting young water professionals into the water industry and retaining these skills. And a really good way of doing this is through having a mentor. Mentoring can give you someone to talk to that's not in your company. They can give you guidance, someone to discuss issues with, make you feel like you're not alone if you've come into this industry and you don't know anyone else. And it's also, networking is a big part of it too, so they can introduce you to other contacts and help you learn more people in the industry and learn more about your industry. For the more senior members of the industry, it's great because you can give something back to the water industry, and you know that you're supporting the water industry in Queensland, you're keeping it going, keeping it alive, and we also hope that through your mentoring relationship you will learn something too from your mentee. So as you all know, we've filled out a mentoring questionnaire to be here tonight, and we've got you to put down your skills and your experience and also your areas of interest. So what we've tried to do is then match you up with an appropriate mentor or mentee based on these answers. So we try and get you with someone that's got the same interests as you, and for the mentees we try and pair you, when you've asked for, say, help with leadership, we try and pair you with someone that has said, this is one of my skills. That's, I guess, the main part of what we do as a part of this program. We really facilitate this introduction and we get the partnerships together. From there, it's really up to you. How you want to carry out your mentoring relationship is really quite flexible. You and your mentor or your mentee can work out how often you want to meet throughout the year, if you want to Skype, email, what kind of issues you want to discuss, and really how you're going to do things. Also, what you'll learn tonight is how to do that. So we're going to have some great activities on how to be a mentee, how to be a mentor, what to do, what not to do, and how to get the most out of your relationship. During the year, you can contact me at any time if you've got any troubles, issues with your partnership, or if you just want to chat. We'll have some catch-ups during the year, so I'll keep emailing you all throughout the year and tell you that we'll have a catch-up mid-year and also get together at the Christmas party at the end of the year. That's nearly all I have to say. We've also just got a few things I'm really happy with. We've listened to your feedback from last year and we've tried to incorporate that and make some good changes. We've actually doubled in participation from last year, which I'm really, really excited about, so thank you everyone. And we've also introduced something that I'm calling tiered mentoring. So last year, one thing that came back was people that were kind of mid-career were saying, well, I still want to mentor. I'm old enough to be a mentor, but I would still like help. So what we've done this year is we've got a few people who are mid-career and they've agreed to be, or they've offered to be, a mentor for younger people, but they're also being mentees for senior people in the industry. So it's not just saying you have to be a mentor or a mentee, you can do both, and it helps the really young water professionals as well as the mid-career people. That's all I have to say, so thank you very much again for coming along. Now Henry, our YWP president, who I can't, there he is just going to have a few words now.
So just to lead on from what Sarah was saying, that AWA has identified an ageing trend in membership. Big problem. That's a really big problem. So that's probably why a lot of you young people are here today, but also why some of you slightly older people are also here. Now, from my perspective, it doesn't matter how old we are, we've always got something to learn, otherwise might as well go on holiday and sit on the beach for a while. So I just want to first of all thank you mentees and mentors for coming to share the knowledge, because some of the mentees may be able to teach some of the mentors a few things. There's no hard and fast definition for a YWP. Somebody just asked me before how old you have to be. You can be as young as you like. So we're always looking for more YWPs, not just on our committee, but also just in general to come to our events. Our main objective is to grow, develop the network of young water professionals, not just in Queensland, not just in Australia, but we have a number of members who've gone off to deepest, darkest Mongolia. So just a couple of highlights. We've just had an event at Griffith University. We had a number of students there. So just to give you an idea of some of the things as YWPs we get up to. We had an event with the skills retention and motivation, talking about the talent in the industry, how little there necessarily is available, and how we who are skilled can really tap into that to maximise our opportunities. We had a Tempin bowling evening. It's a great networking opportunity. The person in that photo from Arrow Energy will remain nameless. We also had a walking tour throughout Brisbane. A lot of wonderful water projects are on our doorstep. We are a river city, so we need to get on board and really get into it. So why would you think of joining the YWPs? You know, what are you going to get out of it apart from exhaustion after running an event through the city? Key contacts. Helps us all in the network. Teamwork. You know, if you really want to differentiate yourself on your CV, there's no better way to be involved in a membership, whether that's attending technical events, whether it's helping YWPs organise events. There's some great opportunities. Now, joining the process for the YWPs, some of you have seen this slide before on the website, is a little complex. So, before you all take photos of that on your iPhone or anything, just give us a ring anytime. You can talk to Sarah, you can talk to Sharon, who runs our branch office here locally, or any of the other AWA members. I'm sure they'll be able to point you in the right straight to the point. Sarah wouldn't let me put that up before, but I snuck it in. So a special thanks to Sarah for setting this all up. I haven't counted the number of hours or counted the number of emails I've been attached into, but I'm sure there's an awful number. So you've worked really, really hard, so thank you. You can come forward a bit and not hide. So thank you very much for organising it all. And also for the others, Rui, Abraham, Esan, hopefully Mark, for helping Sarah as well put everything together. It's not a small task. There's a lot of you here tonight, which is awesome, so thank you very much for coming. And I just have a little something. It's for you, Sarah.
Oh, such a present.
So, thank you very much.
Oh my God!
So thank you very much. I hope you all have a wonderful night and really enjoy yourselves.
No, need the microphone. Thank you very much, Henry. I completely wasn't expecting that. And no one sent me an email yet to say, please stop sending me all these mentoring emails. I'm just waiting for it, so that's good. Okay, now we have the formalities over, we can get into the fun stuff. So as I said before, one of our sponsors for the evening is IWC. And IWC have very kindly agreed to also hold the main presentation activity for us tonight. Presenting that will be Dr. Brian McIntosh. Now, if you don't know Brian, he is a senior lecturer at IWC and he's also the education program coordinator. There was a lot of very interesting stuff on his bio from the website, a lot of which has escaped me, but it was about communities responding to shortages of water due to things like climate change and urbanisation. Brian's also involved with Smart Water Research Centre, the University of Queensland and University of Cranfield. Okay. Not on the website bio, but I have heard that he has been known to make up songs in lectures and possibly even break into songs. So I think we're going to be in for a treat tonight. So Brian, please.
Thanks, Sarah, and thank you to the AWA Young Water Professionals for giving me the opportunity and the IWC the opportunity to work with you all tonight. There's a couple. I'm wearing a couple of different hats here. There's a hat of the sponsor, and that entails a small product plug. You may already have noticed that you're sitting on a product plug. We put them all out and thought maybe we're overdoing it. If you really want to go that one extra step further, we do have IWC branded underwear, which you can come and see me about later on. It's not that racy, functional, it's hard wearing, and probably good for the working day. The other hat that I'm wearing is to run this introduction to mentoring. And that's I suppose we're going to try and have a little bit of fun doing it, but there are some serious messages there about expectations, some recommendations from accumulated experience across a range of mentors and mentees about what works, what doesn't work, how you might think about approaching this relationship, which might be a bit strange and might be the first time as a mentee, might be your first time as a mentor, even though you've got an awful lot of valuable accumulated experience to impart. And there's a need then, as a consequence of this strange relationship that you probably don't have in any other context, to think about how's it going to work? How am I going to get most value out of this? And that's from both sides, the mentor and the mentee side. So that's sort of started about halfway through the presentation. Let's go this way. That's all right.
You want this?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So we'll start off, I think, with just a brief. I suppose me saying what the IWC does before we start getting into the meat of the matter, the mentoring programme. We are based here in the city. We are a joint venture between Griffith, UQ, Monash and UWA. And I suppose right at the very heart of what we do is capacity building. Skills and capacity building in the water sector. Be that in water resources or urban water, maybe even in international development. And what we're particularly focused on is building skills of people to be part of processes of change. And that might be processes of change in the sense of carrying out current practices but more efficiently. It might be change in the sense of creating new ways of doing things, what the business community calls innovation. It might be quite radical change. But what the literature suggests is that people who are able to effectively stimulate and drive, see through to implementation, change, have particular skills in common. So it's not really a mystery when you get to the mechanics, and the mechanics are you. The mechanics are people. That's why and how change occurs. And when we get to that level, you can identify skills for change as falling into three sets. Understanding, so being able to think outside your existing discipline or function. Being able to think about what the world of water means for somebody else. So if you're a civil engineer, thinking about what an ecologist thinks of when they see a stream. If you're in policy, thinking about how a community practitioner or somebody in a civil society organisation, how they perceive water. Organising. Change doesn't occur as a consequence of chaos. It occurs as a consequence of effectively aligning people and resources with a vision. Some effective team management. Collaborating across organisations, perhaps. Organising that collaboration. And then influencing. That creating a common vision and getting people on board. And these are sets of skills and knowledge which you can build. It's in a sense, it's not magic. And we've designed our products really to target different parts of, let's see if I can get these three set core competencies for change. Another way to think about it is we're trying to create this sort of broad T-shape of skills profile. So people come out of university with deep understanding in a particular area, civil engineering, chemistry, sociology, policy science, doesn't really matter what, but they come out with very deep understanding, a lot about a little. They know a lot about a little. And as you go through your career, you tend to broaden out, particularly as you take on management responsibilities, and particularly if you start having to engage across functions or organisations. What we're trying to do is deliberately construct this kind of T-shape of skills profile. The management literature shows quite clearly that organisations which are able to effectively preempt and adapt to change, which are able to successfully innovate, are full of people who do this, but not absolutely full. There's a healthy population of people who are able to join dots. So if you look at really big organisations like BP, they actually have T-shaped roles. There are formal roles that they've created for internal problem solving and knowledge sharing. Much more effective than trying to share knowledge via inputting lots of data into computer systems that are then very difficult to maintain, very expensive and nobody ever uses. Much more effective if you utilise the knowledge inside people's heads. Now, if you formally create those roles, it creates a real flexible and effective mechanism for change inside organisations and outside. So we've got three main products that tackle these different skills and competence areas and with different levels of detail. The Masters of Integrated Water Management, some participants on that programme are here in the room tonight. That's I suppose, our flagship product. It runs both full-time and part-time. It's got about 20 nationalities in the full-time cohort. And it targets organising and understanding. There's a specialist graduate certificate in water planning. Again, looking at aspects of integration, so integrating science and collaborative planning, stakeholder engagement, conflict management, sets of skills which are needed in practice together, and sets of skills which are not found commonly together in normal disciplinary focused degree programs. And then the leadership program, and that focuses exclusively on influencing, on building up visions and aligning people, resources and visions. Part of developing that competence to influence others, to create a common vision and to drive change is actually engaging in mentoring relationships. People who effectively institute and drive change tend to have been through at least one or more mentoring relationships themselves. There's fairly good evidence to suggest that, and it's no surprise. They've gone out, these people have gone out and they've actively sought the experience, the accumulated experience and wisdom of older practitioners, and deliberately structured relationships to enable that knowledge transfer. If you're interested in any more, then please do get in contact. But I'll get off the hard sell. That was a hard sell, though, with an underlying message that, look, mentoring fits into this. Mentoring is actually part of the process of building up skills and understanding, both to manage efficiently, effectively, but also to be part of change. The slides I'm going to run through are based on a set of slides that Victor Callan at the University of Queensland, the research dean, provided for us as part of the Water Leadership Programme. So we have a module on mentoring as part of that programme. What we'll do over the next, we've got slightly less time than I thought, but that's okay, we'll compress it. Over the next half an hour or so, we will run through the benefits of having mentors from the perspective of mentees, principles of good mentor-mentee relationships, for example, regularly reviewing the relationship. Some people, this is a common one, people begin to ask the question, well, how do I get out of this? Once I'm into it, how do I get out of this without really annoying the other person and creating, well, maybe I'm just going to limit my employment opportunities in the future as this relationship fractures apart. You've got to be clear and open and professional. It's not rocket science. None of what I'm going to talk about really is rocket science. It's pretty common sense. Steps to establishing a good mentor-mentee relationship. Again, particularly from the perspective of mentees, but we'll also talk a little bit about the mentor perspective. And then some workshop activities to help us run through this and share some ideas and concerns, because you might be a little bit anxious as well as excited about the prospect of forming this new and hopefully productive relationship. Some quick questions then to start off. Has anyone been in a mentoring relationship? Any mentees out there? Okay, as a mentee? And what did you get out of that relationship?
Oh, lots.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I kind of a nebulous lots. It might be non-specific. It might.
Yeah, it is very non-specific. Yeah, just observation of the mentor that I had, how he carried himself in the workplace, integrity he had, honesty he had. And, yeah, that's something of it.
Excellent. And there's a hand up there. Yeah. What did you get out of your relationship?
Well, it's ongoing.
Okay.
The friendship is one thing. Just an insight into how the water industry works and advice on looking for jobs or what's going on in the workplace, who to talk to, that sort of thing.
Okay. Any other mentees? Yep.
Yes, mine was really helpful in terms of making contacts in different organisations and also getting advice from that sort of helicopter perspective. So having someone who was separated from the workplace but who understood what I was going through, was able to provide some advice on how to deal with certain situations.
Yep. No, I think these are great things that you will get out of a relationship from just being with and observing and learning from that accumulated experience that manifests itself in particular ways of doing and being, through to friendship and also onto that sort of external viewpoint, a little bit more objective, can help you reflect on what's going on in your work world. And that being able to tell you what it looks like from another perspective is really, really invaluable. Mentors. Has anyone been a mentor before? What did you get out of that relationship?
I think it's good to have perspective on your career. I guess as you move through, you sometimes lose sight of the steps that you take along the way in management or even in the technical area. So it's good to reflect on others that are just starting that journey and encouraging them particularly to look at accreditation like CPN or RPQ as an important step on their career. Something not to be overlooked, that is an important milestone to sort of work towards and set that as a goal, particularly when you're sort of 1 to 4 years out, to have a goal around certification as at least one early goal to work towards.
Okay. And that process of looking back for yourself, did that help you make sense and give you personal satisfaction of how you progress through your career, or did you then turn that reflection into more crystallised advice to employees, direct reports and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's very important, and I think the thing that experience gives you, and I'd like to reflect on that, in any one situation there's probably 4 or 5 solutions available, and it's a matter of talking through some of those with the mentee and say, of these 4 or 5 options, which is the one that you'd like to try in this particular instance. And there's always many ways of approaching situations or possible solutions.
Any other mentors?
I think one of the things, there were 2 big takeaways. One was engaging with somebody across generation and seeing how young graduates are seeing the world and the sort of issues that the dry package makes it easier to manage your own phase. But the other one was in the process of dealing with issues that arose and stepping back and analysing and thinking through what questions do I need to get this person to answer to work their own way through thinking on it. But it was forcing me to stop back and reflect on things that I was probably doing intuitively right along now. And I found I was actually getting that mentoring myself at times in terms of, I've got something similar actually going on here that I should probably follow the same thought process related to trying to get this person to go through.
Yes, yeah, it can be a catalyst to break habits you might not even be aware of you've got. Okay. Any other mentors?
Yeah, I think one of the great benefits of being a mentor is to watch the development of a career. Someone comes in as a first-year person, keen to learn, and you yourself think, well, where was I at that same stage of my career? And you try and look back and say, what was it that brought me up to where I am at the moment? Just like Steve at the front was saying, you learn by going back and thinking, well, how do I approach problems? And then try and pass on. Learn the delight of watching people pick up the clues, perhaps develop their own approach, but just rise up with capability. It's a very, very positive experience.
That's great. So nobody said anything negative, and that's very heartening. If you approach a mentor-mentee relationship,
it just requires a few sort of simple practices, a few simple rules to make sure that it doesn't degenerate, that you get something out of it, that you're able to stop the relationship when both of you have really got what you want, instead of meeting up and staring at the ceiling and wondering what you're going to talk about next. It's not that difficult, and it should be an overwhelmingly positive experience for both sides. And hopefully, speaking on behalf of AWA, Young Water Professionals Programme, that's what it should be for you over the next, how many months? 10 months? 10-ish months? Okay. What we'll do is we'll just go through a couple of slides covering the basics of mentor-mentee relationships. Apologise if this is old hat to you. It's not going to be old hat to everyone in the room. And it's useful that we all enter this with the same understanding. So, what is mentoring? It tends not to be performance-based, so it's different from coaching. So coaching is where you're focused on some aspect of your work and you're trying to get better at that aspect of your work. It's performance-oriented, KPI-oriented. That might creep in a little bit, but it's not the primary focus of a mentoring relationship. One way of thinking about it is as an intentional developmental relationship where a more experienced practitioner or professional nurtures the professional and personal life of the mentee who's less experienced and less knowledgeable. Can be more formal or less formal. I would suggest that some degree of formality is good. Formality in the sense of being clear about what your goals are and your objectives. An absolute no-no for a mentor-mentee relationship from a mentee perspective is that you're trying to get a job out of the person that you're linked up with. That's a sort of it's just a no-no. You're not there to get a job. You're there to learn from the wisdom and the experience of that person. Unlike coaching, much less focus, as I said, on enhancing current job performance. Much more long-term developmental. A mentoring relationship can go on for many years. Probably the shortest it goes on for is a couple of months. So long-term is really anything from a couple of months upwards. There's a time scale set for this program, but of course, if you're having a very productive relationship, there's no need. In fact, it shouldn't stop really. You should agree yourselves, the mentor and the mentee, when it will stop. The way that we use leadership is to mean the skills for change. Leadership, we see it as a process of aligning vision, people and resources to achieve some desired outcome. In leadership development, the development of skills for leadership, for running that kind of process, mentoring is commonly used as a learning element. It's a very important component, not just in the IWC's view of leadership, but more generically if you go across the leadership literature. Mentoring is one of the fundamental tools which are in there, along with other feedback mechanisms and learning mechanisms like 360 degree feedbacks. If you dig into the leadership literature, you'll find that there is a positive correlation between support from mentors and effective leadership development, greater recognition in the workplace, greater career opportunities and promotions for mentees. And mentees are more likely to also volunteer to be mentors in the future. So partly what we're doing here is we're creating a self-perpetuating system of knowledge transfer. By deliberately engaging as a mentee in a mentor relationship, you're helping to set yourself up to be a future mentor and helping to keep that process of knowledge transfer in place. Mentoring can take multiple forms. You're going to engage in one-to-one mentoring, but it's not the only kind. And the one-to-one mentoring that you're engaging in is between a less experienced and more experienced professional. You can get peer-to-peer mentoring, which is focused primarily on reflection, maybe about being an aid to reflection in working practice, maybe less about the transfer of accumulated wisdom. But there can also be group mentoring, which typically involves 4 to 6 people, and it's quite often it enables that group to collectively benefit from the experience of the mentor. What I'd like you to do though is to stand up first of all, and I'd like all the mentees on this side of the room and all the mentors on this side, if that's okay. So mentees this way, mentors that way. So what we're going to do is a little bit of talking and a little bit of sharing and a little bit of putting some paper on the wall so that as we stay here for drinks later on, people can share from the accumulated wisdom and ambitions which are here in this room. So in your groups of 3, 4 or 5, depending on which row you're sitting on, I'd like you to discuss the following question. What do you want this process, this relationship that you're about to enter into, what do you want it to achieve from your own perspective? So we'd expect the mentors to write some things quite different from the mentees, I'd imagine. So have a piece of paper. Have a piece of paper. And you can draw diagrams if you want, flow sheets are okay. Okay, can you put your piece of paper on the wall, and then we're going to have a quick go around the room to listen to what people have discussed. We'll go through the mentoring side. Who would like to volunteer? There are some of the responses to that question.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay. For our group, we had a number of benefits, I think, that we could see out of the process. Giving back to industry. And I think all of us in AWA have certainly learned a lot. And AWA is an association that shares knowledge freely, so we've all gained from the association over the years. Independent sounding board, a person who's probably not in your firm, not in your section, so able to give an independent view on a situation. Filling the gap. Many of us have come through situations where mentoring wasn't available in our careers, and looking back we can see the benefits of that, and now wanting to be able to provide that service or facility to others. Share experience, war stories. I think that there's great benefit in stories. Sometimes they go on a bit long, but there's always some wisdom in there somewhere.
Good luck to whoever's mentee.
Good for networking. I mean, this is a networking event here tonight, but obviously with your mentee, depending on what sort of relationship you are, you could then meet other people in that organisation as well. It allows new knowledge to be discussed. There's lots of new things happening in industry and university and research that could be a benefit to others. And also we'd hope that out of this process that we're developing future leaders in the industry, which is what I was hoping.
That's great. Thank you very much. Any other mentoring groups who would like to volunteer? Yes, no problem.
I guess just similar things, but I guess we want the mentee to feel it's been a positive experience for themselves, take some value from the process, thought moments. I guess, you know, thinking in the day-to-day environment, when, as we were saying, you come up with lots of examples and you like to think, oh yeah, that's something I'll tell my mentee about. Giving back to the industry, imparting knowledge, helping the mentee through tough experiences, but also helping to build their own resilience so they can deal with that problem next time. Mentees to enjoy their job, so we want to make, you know, your workday a little bit better. And I guess mentees also can help mentors to learn a thing or two when it comes to technology or things like that. Big one is adventure, or you know, the mentees are probably a little bit more adventurous than us mentors, so we're out for an adventure. Someone to listen to us. Listen to at home, it's a no punishment environment, so we want mentees to feel, you know, able to talk about things openly with us, and also to create a network outside your own workplace.
That's great. Thank you. So both mentors and mentees, there's a lot of discussion and quick, but a lot of thought went into these posters here. So during the networking session, where there's some more drinks available, please do make sure that you make sure you make time to listen to the mentors who are clearly feeling some angst and need. Yeah, make sure you read each of these posters. It will help you understand a little bit more about the minds of the mentors. And mentors, similarly, you might come up with some ideas about mentoring from some of your co-mentors, which would be useful to put into practice. Mentees. Can we have a mentee group to volunteer? Alright.
So we started off quite broad. The first one was career path guidance. Someone that was starting off in their career, just wanted guidance on everything, be it how to be a professional in the workplace to paths, you know, where to go. Networking skills, improving networking skills and improving your network generally. And I think that's something that the mentees think about as well. Guidance on applicable careers for skills for someone that's starting out, where could they go? Work-life balance. Challenging the mentees with questions on handling the situations that mentors have encountered maybe recently. How would mentees handle it? Because mentors aren't always going to have the questions, the answers, but they'll have the questions to tell you how to get there. Effective communication and identifying skills for the entire career path.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. One more mentee group. Okay.
The only other things that we didn't talk about that were mentioned before, potentially some technical skills about related to areas which might not have so much experience in, like wastewater management, for instance. Organizational skills, that's presuming that somebody who's been in the industry for a long time is organized.
Look at them.
They look like
most organized here, but
access to boats, cars, holiday houses.
At least jobs were on that list. We are going to get you into your mentor-mentee pairs before we break for drinks. But again, I would encourage the mentors to have a scan. It'll give you an insight into the psychology of this group and set of individuals, one of whom you're going to end up with as a mentee. We'll progress on just a little bit. These are some ideas to help you.
The relationship that you're going to form, to think about what you might want to get out of it. So this is a model by a chap called Avolio. And Avolio was concerned with how people become better practitioners, better professionals. And so over on the right-hand side is self-development. But self-development occurs as a consequence of consciously altering your own behaviour, self-regulation, which comes as a consequence of becoming more self-aware about what you're doing and how you're doing it and what the effects are, what you could be doing differently to have a better effect. And by effects here, we're not just meaning self-serving and career advancement. We're also meaning effects in terms of positive outcomes within your organisation or the work of your organisation in terms of its impact in the community or environmentally, depending on your focus. Self-awareness comes about as a consequence of triggers, things which happen in your workplace. Self-awareness can come about as a consequence of changing from one workplace to another, becoming aware of cultures, ways of doing things. And self-awareness depends upon talents and capacities which are built upon by life experiences. The idea of mentoring can fit in really to help at any one of these stages, to make sense of triggers, to help somebody become more aware of the talents and capacities they have, to help them become more aware of what effects they're having and how effective they are being in their workplace, in the community, in the environment, ultimately towards becoming a better, more reflective, more deliberate and more effective professional. So mentoring is an input to help people reflect, crudely. Reflect on how they are doing things and where they're going and what impact they're having. Mentees in this relationship can probably expect to talk about these kinds of things. Triggers. So what's happening to me at work at present? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I not getting anywhere? I keep on doing this job, but I'm not satisfied. I don't seem to be able to get anyone else on board. I'm trying to do this and it's just not working. Life experiences. Why do I feel I'm failing all the time? I succeeded back then. How can I make these conditions reoccur? Talents and capacities. Maybe I'm not getting to where I want to be, either in terms of job position or in terms of effectiveness, because there's something missing which I've not quite recognised yet. Having an experienced professional work with you can help you pinpoint. And it's probably not deep technical knowledge. You're probably aware of that. It's probably more behavioural. Probably more to do with the way that you're conducting yourself with others. And that requires an objective pair of eyes and a seasoned pair of eyes. Self-awareness, self-regulation, and self-development. So as mentees, I would be beginning to think about this kind of model. It's not the only one you can use to base your conversations on. But having a think about a professional and personal development model, and then basing your conversations around a sort of an explicit model of learning and professional development. Don't just go into this with a set of random questions. Try to structure your questions a little bit more. You'll get more out of it as a consequence. Mentors. You can probably be expected to be involved in a range of different interactions, types of activity with your mentees. They might fall into these categories. Accompanying. You might offer a more intensive feedback process as somebody goes through a project. Your mentee goes through a particular project or learning experience. So you offer quick and rapid feedback. You might be involved in what is sometimes known as sewing. If I say something to you, you might not really understand what I mean. You might require that we both go away and sit together in a ski cabin somewhere with a bottle of whiskey. And then after about a day, 2 days, a week, depending on how far apart you are conceptually, eventually it clicks. Sewing is a way to try to bridge that gap. Try to make people, to sow the conceptual seeds, or the seeds of reflection and experience, which help people gradually become aware of what they're doing right and wrong and what they could be doing better. You might be involved in catalyzing. You might actually be provoking your mentee to do something consciously, deliberately new. A bit of an experiment almost. An experiment which is informed by your own experience of what is likely to be the outcome, or at least likely to be the learning that comes as a consequence of trying. Modelling. You might find yourselves presenting yourself as an exemplary in a particular field, particular job function, particular area of endeavour. Something, a set of behaviours, a set of knowledge for the mentee to try to follow. And harvesting, you might be acting more as a reflective aid and asking questions. Well, what did you learn there? Why was that useful? Why not? And acting less as a guide and more as a reflective aid. If anyone has ever worked with a counsellor, counsellors don't tend to tell you what to do. They tend to ask you questions back. And that's their job, their function really is to help you reflect and diagnose yourself. You might find yourself in that sort of role. Maslow distinguished four levels, or 4 stages of learning, which bear an uncanny resemblance now to Donald Rumsfeld waffling on in the Iraq War about things that you don't know, things that you do know, and things that you do know. I don't think he was reading Maslow, but never mind. Unconscious incompetence. I don't know that I don't know how to do this. Stuff that you're just not aware of. Conscious incompetence. I know that I don't know how to do this yet. Conscious competence. I know that I know how to do this. And unconscious competence. What? You say I did something well? And you would hope perhaps that the mentors as a group are unconsciously competent. Not unconsciously incompetent, but there's a definite, two letters are missing there. Unconsciously competent, because that's the nature of acquired expertise. It sometimes becomes difficult to actually articulate how you do things well. It's become so ingrained. So the challenge to the mentors is to surface that, to try to bring that up so you can impart it. And the mentors then, in a sense, have a role to help get the mentees from perhaps a state of unconscious incompetence through towards unconscious competence. Given that this is not necessarily going to be anything longer than a 10-month relationship, might be shorter, might really work, in which case it could be longer, and that's a beautiful thing. But this might be a relatively short relationship, and that's fine. You may have multiple mentors as mentees. In fact, you're almost certain to, as you go along through your career. So this isn't it. You're not getting married to somebody for 20 to 25 years. Please don't leave the room now. It's okay. This is the start. Get what you can out of this relationship, and then both of you mutually agree when to stop and to move on. Okay, we're a bit tight for time. What I'd like to do, instead of doing another group session, let's just answer these questions on the floor. So mentees, what are you most concerned about?
Maybe you're not anxious at all.
Finding a common time to meet up to everyone's
Yes, that can be a major issue. It's not just that the mentors will be very, very busy. You're probably very busy yourselves, but it's that synchronizing of diaries. Planning when you're going to meet in advance is an important ingredient for success here. Plan at least one meeting ahead, maybe multiple meetings ahead, at a time and a location that's mutually convenient. Might be a breakfast meeting every month, every couple of weeks, depends on the intensity of the mode of the relationship. But you've got to get that sorted out, get the diary sorted out very early on. Anything else you're concerned about, mentees?
Asking stupid questions.
Okay. Asking stupid, there can be badly formed questions. And I sometimes find myself as a Glaswegian challenged in that regard. The meaning is crystal clear. There are no such thing as stupid questions. They will only, well, you'll get an answer back. And it'll either be a quick answer, in which case it was an easy to answer question, or you'll make somebody stop and think. So don't be afraid, be bold in your questions. And mentors, any of you concerned about anything?
Yeah, if there's a difference between your degree of, if you like, shyness or extrovertism, and getting a person who might be shy to open up and feel comfortable with you.
Yes. Now, if you are on either side, if you're a little bit shy, there's a bit of personal responsibility here about trying to break out of that mold. But planning the nature of what you want to get out of the relationship can help break that down. You can even plan it on email if that's the best way to operate. Some people operate, I suppose, much more coherently by written word than they do by on-the-spot verbal response. So it might be that if you are feeling particularly shy or not able to form your thoughts very, very quickly, write them down. Have an email ping pong between you to get the agenda, the purpose of your relationship set overall, and maybe meeting by meeting. and then it means you've got some deliberate questions, an agenda to go through. Treat it in a business-like manner, if that's the best way for it to work for you. Anyone else concerned on the mentor side?
Quite a stupid answer.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are stupid answers. I don't think I can help you there. So I suppose it would be, the only advice that I think I could probably give would be to treat every question seriously and to give considered and thoughtful responses. If you're still a bit daft and you give a daft response, then but this should be considered deliberate and thoughtful from both sides. How will you make the relationship work?
We touched on that a little bit here. Setting up diary, getting the meetings set out, at least one or two or more in advance, being clear about the agenda for each meeting and being clear consequently about when you're going to stop. When you've fulfilled the overall purpose through a series of agendas, just agree to stop. And so you say that was both sides, that was very productive. You thank each other, it's very civil. And then you formed in a sense, you've probably formed a little bit of a friendship, which may come in useful later on, a bit of strategic networking. Might not. Maybe you'll touch base again as in a mentor-mentee relationship, or maybe you'll just bump into each other at networking functions, and then you won't feel so lonely. If you feel lonely already, which you might not. All right. We are going to hear from a returning mentor pair now.
Goodness, I'm very excited to be a returning mentee. Last year's launch, the returning couple were absolutely fantastic. And I'm not sure what Heather was thinking, but I was sitting there going, oh, definitely going to be like that. And now that I'm here, I'm actually fairly freaked. So 12 months ago, I was just as excited when I saw the mentoring program advertised on the internet, and I'd successfully registered myself as a mentee. I'd never been in a mentoring relationship, but I'd heard that it was a good thing to do for both personal and professional development. And I really did have no idea what to expect. Definitely the activities that we're going through tonight help clarify those expectations, but I had my own set of ideas as to how I was going to approach the program. Firstly, I decided to approach it with both an open-mindedness and a willingness to probably identify opportunities and maybe lessons as they presented themselves. I also respected the reasons as to why each mentor was incorporated into the program. I acknowledged that they were probably very busy people, and I was adamant that I was going to give a high level of commitment, be prompt to arriving at meetings, and always show my appreciation. I think a couple of things worked fairly well for Heather and I. The first was incorporating flexibility, which has already been spoken about. Obviously, we're both very busy people, and it was hard to catch up, particularly when Heather works in the city and I don't work in the city. So we had agreed to meet on a monthly basis in the city. Initially, it was in the morning over a cup of coffee at the Chocolate Soldier. As we gained a bit of momentum, we tried a few different cafes. When I finished my thesis, catching up in the afternoon over a glass of wine was more convenient. This is when I found out probably what the next best thing was that worked for us. Well, me. Because personally I'm not very good at talking about myself. If you want to give me something technical to talk about, that's no dramas, but when I have to talk about myself, my brain goes into overdrive. And forgive me for the alliteration, but wine is wonderful and can work wonders. So that was the threshold from not doing particularly well in our relationship to really getting things done. So after discovering wine Don't know if Heather noticed a difference in me, but I certainly found the process a little bit more pleasurable and easier. Sometimes when we both got a little bit busy and it was hard to catch up, we managed to have one meeting over the telephone. We also, in between meetings, communicated through email, which was excellent. The support that Heather's provided me over the past 12 months has been a relieving nicety. She's been very successful in changing my perspectives and my approaches on numerous occasions. Probably if she hadn't been there to interfere and put her spin on it, they may have not ended quite so successfully. Thank you. That's wonderful. I remember during one meeting, I'm a very passionate person, and I was very frustrated with my job and the company I worked for, and I had written a 15-page letter which contained, ideas and innovations that I thought would benefit my company, and which I intended to send to the CEO. Heather strongly cautioned me that I should be careful on how I presented my letter and maybe how I worded it. So I sent it to her in an email, and she put in her corrections, and so I sent it off. So after all of our efforts and our corrections, I got to meet my CEO, fantastic, and he thought that my letter was very positive and enthusiastic, and he asked if I would mind it being distributed to the other board members. So, all in a day's work, bit of Heather's advice. I managed not to rub too many noses up the wrong way, and I also managed not to get myself sacked. Another very memorable experience was when Heather supported me by attending a Toastmasters meeting. Thought I would try and improve my public speaking. Neither of us had attended Toastmasters before, and neither of us had attended Toastmasters since. But that's not the point. What was memorable was Heather being a fantastic role model, got roped into being part of a role play where she acted as the wife to a man she'd never met before, and they had a heated discussion as to why he had forgotten their anniversary. I remember thinking, oh, my mentor, she's quite a short lady, lovely hair, extremely good at walking fast in heels, and clearly very persuasive. So as I reflect on the past 12 months, I feel a sense of journey and progress. It's been a really busy year for both of us. I didn't see her actually graduate, but Heather did graduate from her doctorate. I myself graduated from my master's with the IWC. We went to halfway drinks, which I suggest you should all attend if you can. I got to experience Heather probably being a little bit uncertain as to how to advise me in the beginning, to Heather definitely knowing all of my strengths and my weaknesses, and definitely the direction in which she probably needed to guide me in. And it's a rather strange feeling being so exposed to somebody you've learnt to respect very much. I'm not quite sure if Heather knows this, but I received an email, well, I was copied into an email to Sarah saying that Heather was willing to mentor me for this 2013 year. And I'm not really sure if I can describe it in words, whether I was touched or honoured, like I had been a good mentee. Or maybe Heather just thought I needed a whole heap more help. But no, I felt very privileged. And I've certainly had a wonderful 12 months. And I don't know, the best thing I can hope for you is also that you have a fantastic journey with lots of memories and some good advice.
Wow, that was just brilliant. Thank you, Alicia. It's a bit hard to follow from that. I think that Alicia's really captured our relationship and how we approach the mentor-mentee relationship really quite well. And we have developed quite a strong relationship and friendship. and very willing to take that through further to see how we go. Basically, I feel that I'm here for Alicia for whatever she needs into the future, and however long it takes. I do. I guess there's a few things that I'd like to point out about what mentoring means to me. For those of you who know me well, you know that I'm really passionate about the mentor-mentee relationship, and it's because I've received mentoring as a mentee throughout my career, and it has just been an absolute wonder for me. It has really helped me in so many ways, not just professional development and growth, but personal development and growth as well. So for me, this is an opportunity to give back. I've also observed people that work for me and other people that I know enter into these mentor-mentee relationships, and I've seen incredible growth and development occur because of them. So there's a lot of opportunities through this very simple process of connecting two people together. I think Alicia already covered how we approach things. My approach was very happy for Alicia to take the lead on how she wanted to approach things, so that our relationship was based on what her needs were, and as a result, we went from having breakfasts and coffees together in the mornings to having catch-ups over wine in the afternoon, which was lovely, emails, phone calls and all that sort of thing. And I have to say that the Toastmasters event was probably one of the most interesting things, and there's no way I would have gone to a Toastmasters event without Alicia. She really Alicia really wanted to go and learn about Toastmasters. I was curious but not really interested, so we went along together and it was fascinating. We had a great time. Our conversations, we talk about a variety of things. It's not always just work related, but most of the time it is work related, and it could be about technical issues or people, research, higher education, all sorts of things. As you know, Alicia elaborated on a particular issue that she had, that she was going to approach the CEO. So we had a rather lengthy conversation on how best to approach the CEO, and a really positive result, which is wonderful. That's probably about all from me. I'm really, really looking forward to this next 12 months. And I just have to say that for me, being a mother of 5 young adults, it's really lovely to have someone who wants to listen to me.
A really intimate insight into your mentoring process and journey so far, which hopefully everyone in the room can take something from. We're going to very quickly move into getting you paired up with your mentor or mentee, depending on which side you're on. Just a couple of sort of take-home points to perhaps incorporate into your relationship. Good idea to start off with a getting to know you session. The mentor-mentee relationship is going to involve, I think as you've just heard, exposing yourself a bit personally about your motivations, about what you like, what you don't like, why you've done things, what you have regretted, what you are wanting to achieve. This requires some trust. So it's very important to have your first session should be a getting to know you session, and of course you are going to build that knowledge of each other as you go forward. So there is a bit of a trick here to marry together the formal agenda setting, the business approach, with the breaking down barriers. Hopefully your mentors are able to help you help you through that process. Define your roles and responsibilities. Be clear what you're wanting out of the relationship. It might be longer and ongoing. It sounds like you two have really hit it off. And that's wonderful, and that happens sometimes, but sometimes it's much more defined. So define your roles and responsibilities and when to stop the relationship. Establish some shorter and longer term goals. So these are just some quick tips about how you might behave in meetings. So as mentees, you might be asking appropriate questions to clarify what your mentor is suggesting. And back the other way, this skill of active listening, checking to make sure you've understood what somebody is saying. Say it back to them in a paraphrased way. It's an odd skill and habit to get used to, but very beneficial. Applying the information and strategies, actually being able to go back and saying, well, I tried that, and this is what happened. Instead of just going back and actually you've not really done anything, because you're not trying to get anything out of the relationship. It only works if both sides put effort in. You've got to listen, actively listen, and collaborate to solve problems. So this should be, I suppose in educational terms, not wholly didactic one way. It should be dialectic. It's about dialogue and collaboration. But of course, with the mentee actively listening and trying to put in practice what the mentor says. You might not be able to meet in person. You might have to meet by phone. It's not as good. Try not to do it, but if you do, just try to make sure you're in a private space where there's no background noise, so that the conversation works. And brainstorming. Be fluid. Try to be creative and open and brainstorm through whatever the solutions might be to the problems which come up. And when things begin to work, celebrate. I think it's really nice to hear that you guys went out for. Actually, it sounds like your relationship is entirely based on wine, but but going out for a glass of wine or a beer, that's a good thing to do. Break down those boundaries to an extent, but be clear what your purpose is. If you're really interested in mentoring further, the CCL, if you have a look on the web, you'll find these are downloadable. You have to pay something like $10, $12 as PDFs. The CCL is a leadership think tank. I suppose it's a set of academics in an independent organisation. And they produce really nice, short, punchy documents in all aspects of management and leadership. So you'll find there's a really rich catalogue of resources beyond these two references. But I'd recommend you download them. And now it's time to meet thy mentor. What we have are 6 bottles of wine here. 6 bottles, which you're not all to rush for at once. Are you okay if I get them going? Fantastic.
I will need to talk to them again after though.
That's all right. So let's just have a brief minute or two of chaos. So the first 3 people, first 3 pairs, you'll find on your badge you've got a mentor number. And the mentees, you have a mentee number. If your mentee number is 7, your mentor is 7. If your mentee number is 14, your mentor is 14. Find your mentor, find your mentee, and the first 3 people here, first 3 pairs, win a bottle of wine each.